This is the being and non-being. To be or not
Listen,
to be.
either you are the being or you're not the being.
Yeah, to be
And there's
or
no
not to
ifs,
be.
ands, or buts about it. You're either the being or you're not. And the being is real, and the not being is not real.
Well, the being will actually continue to be whether you tune into it or not.
Exactly.
Which is the ideal part of it,
Ah.
is that it will wait for you to tune into it.
Yes.
It won't just stop being the being
No.
because you're busy non-being.
And one of the beauties of the decrees, just to underscore, underline something that you said earlier, is that they put you on the frequency of the being.
The being, yeah, that's where they start.
That's where they start.
And then they finish ideally in the I am presence.
Yes.
Once they become part of the causal body, because they become part of the momentum on one of the rays as you complete the act.
That's why the German poet Goethe wrote in his famous play Faust, in the beginning was the act. This is the act that he was talking
This is
about.
the act, yeah, the act of being. It's being or not being.
And that's where it all begins. In other words, just to elucidate on that, it begins in the being.
It begins when you begin being the being.
When you realize that you are the being, and you always
And you
have
begin
been the being, and
you
you
begin
always
enacting
will be
it.
the being.
Well, the thing of it is that we're allowed to not be the being in third dimension.
We're allowed to not be the being. Can you imagine that? Obviously
the
you
free
are,
will.
because you're here, but can you also imagine, on the reverse of that, being
Being
the
the
being?
being while you're in
Wow,
third
what an
dimension.
idea, what a
What
concept.
an idea.
Being the being.
Being the being while you're in embodiment.
And that's what this decree is about. I am the law is I am the being. I am the law of the victorious Christ. I am the law of eternal perfection in my world. In other words, that
I am the word of the Christ. See, the law fits into, it is the code of the Christ. If I say I am the law of the Christ, I am Christ.
Yes.
So this is the idea, is to become Christ, not to worship him,
To connect yourself with the being.
the being.
That's what was going on in the 60s when they had the beings.
The being.
What those people really wanted, they wanted to be the being. They just didn't realize it. They hadn't quite made the connection yet. But everybody wants to be the being, and that's because your deepest inner impulse knows that you are the being. But somehow you've lost touch, and that you have another part of you that wants to reconnect with that being, and the decrees will help you do that, and they'll help you then discover what you really want is you want to be the being.
You want to do the divine plan, which is the charge of the being is to enact the divine plan in the lower self and reunite the lower self with the higher self to become the causal body in the presence through the ascension.
You want to be the man or the woman in this day and age. It doesn't really matter.
There are two polarities.
But in terms of a declarative, you want to be the man.
You
Not
wanna
a
be
man,
the
you
fa-
want to be the
You
man.
want to be the Father. See, the Father for all of us is the Father principle, or the I am presence. And the Son, or the only begotten Christ, is the Christ principle, which is the fifth principle, united with the sixth principle, which is the Buddhic principle, as the higher self. And it's communicating both to the conscious mind, which is down here in the third dimension, and it's communicating with the I am presence, which is holding the divine plan, all of our momentum from past lives, and is free to give that to us if we perform the act of asking.
That's the real meaning also behind ask and you shall receive.
Sure.
This is what you're supposed to be asking for.
The Father isn't some distant being in a king's habit with a crown on his head, sitting and passing judgment on people. This is too human. God is the higher self, and all of the higher selves united. Whoa, whoa.
All the cameras went off for 1 second, and the lights on us went
All
off,
of the electricity, power
just a
electricity
minute.
went off for a second.
and now they're back on.
The cameras actually recorded it because they're all on battery.
That's how intense That's how. Hopefully
That's how intense.
That's how intense the
That's
energy
how
is right here
intense
in this room.
that statement was.
Yeah.
It shut down the computer,
Yeah.
which, just because it's right in touch with the law, it's exactly the law.
It's the law.
It's the way it really works, not the way the church has led us to believe it works. And that's true of any church. The dogmatism usually sets in after the Christ, or the avatar, as we call it in the East. The avatar has taken the ascension and gone on to direct the activities from the ascended master plane, and we are required to carry those out because we're in the third dimension. There isn't anyone else in hierarchy that can do this but people in embodiment.
Well, part of what happens, the process or the mechanism that happens is, it becomes an organization and it grows. And as it grows, it's subjected to more density.
And more
It's
difference
subjected
of
more to
power
the
times.
stickiness and the difficulties and the problems of being in the third dimension. It's more subjected to that, and it weighs it down. And
It becomes dogma for the use of control.
It becomes dogma. Yes.
So in this sense, the decrees are pure and unwatered. They're not asking you to join anything other than your higher self. When I invoke God or the Ascended Masters, either through decree or prayer or invocation, I'm asking for my I Am Presence to speak through my higher self so I understand what I'm supposed to be doing down here. If I figure that out, it's not because of my lower consciousness. And if I happen to be one who's fortunate enough to know that and tune it through the law of decree and invocation, then I am able to attract that energy and to increase it so that I am fully aware that that's what this energy is that I'm experiencing. So I invoke that in, and by invoking it in, it by law is allowed and does come in. It does come in. What you ask for, you receive.
And through that process, what I got when you were saying that was that it allows you to embody the frequency of the decree
What
that
you're
you're doing.
for.
It's the physical. You're in the physical plane, and you have to. But the invoking is necessary to enable you to embody it or resonate with it within you.
So the victorious Christ is really victory here, expressing the Christ. This is the being victory. Both here and I Am Victory are connecting to victory. And victory has, I knew victory on Venus. Victory hasn't known anything but victory for eons. Since before mankind appeared on Earth 19 million years ago, victory was totally in victory.
Well, like if you think of victory as a flavor, and this may sound funny, but think about it. Think of the flavor vanilla, okay? And something that tasted vanilla 5 years ago, and it still tastes like vanilla today. Once vanilla, always vanilla. It's always going to taste like vanilla. Victory will always be victory. Victory
Victory is a quality that this
just
being,
like the vanilla.
this being decided to embody and to, in other words, to hold a mantle for, as Saint Germain holds the mantle for freedom, and as we hold the mantle for the office of the world teacher in embodiment. We ask for it. In fact, that's the last decree you'll hear today.